All right, it's ready to go. I'm so excited to have you here. We've had some technical issues, of course. Unfortunately, this is something I can't control because I cannot control the internet, unfortunately. So upload is not happening. My download is perfect, though, so we're going to record a show and we're going to have fun doing it. So first and foremost, let me start by introducing everyone, and let's just go from there. Let's start with actually Rudy Ramos here. A man who needs no introduction, plays Felix Long on Yellowstone. And not only that, but he has a great background in such films as Beverly Hills Cop 2, Helter Skelter, and a little Clint Eastwood movie called The Enforcer as well. So welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For sure.
Pleasure.
For sure. I'm so excited to have you here. Another person from the cast I have to kind of jump over to here, Atticus Todd, plays Sheriff Ben Waters. And of course, unfortunately, none of that is happy times. There always seems to be troubles when it comes to the sheriff's world. We'll get to that right now, though, too. Though recently you might have caught him on Stumptown, Hawaii Five-0. And I believe you have played Luke Grimes' father, haven't you not?
Wow, you did your research.
Yeah, Shangri-La Suite, right? So you played Daddy Grimes, or as the character was, you played his father, correct?
That's absolutely correct. He killed me, so we had.
There's some issues.
As any father-son struggle, but it's interesting. So I have played Luke's father, and Gil has played Kelly's father.
So you guys have the full run right now, is what you have.
Yeah, it's really interesting when we realize that. When you realize, wait, he played her father and I played Luke's father. And yeah, it's fun. It's really cool.
And last but not least, we have Lori Kirby here. She is with Review Nation. She is also a huge fan of the show. I know she's eating it up just like your favorite cereal in the morning. You just kind of keep on eating those episodes, and that's the best part about this. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and of course we've got some special effects courtesy of Atticus as well. So we got the smoke machine working.
I thought
for
we
us.
should have an atmosphere,
Right, the fog machine. Yeah,
gives it some depth and some texture.
Well, if you want texture, all you need to do is ask, because if you want texture, what I can do is I can give you. How about some cows? You want some cows? I'll give you some cows there too. A little cows, or maybe even how about some cowboys? You want some cowboys? How about some texture their way? So there's a bunch of ways to give you some fun texture. Of course we have both these.
It's possible cowboys aren't my favorite. Just saying.
I understand. So
let's discuss that.
Let's start.
You have an all Indian show here, so maybe whipping up the cowboys wasn't your best move.
This is true. And I will work on my green screen budget, and I will try to extricate some more money so I can have that as well. Speaking of that idea too, having a Native American cast with Yellowstone, where I feel that it's a character-based show, so everyone has their needs, their wants, and all the stories that need to be told. When you both became part of the show, was there any thoughts or issues about how you wanted to make sure you as a character, but also you as a Native American, was portrayed? Starting with Rudy.
I didn't have any qualms about it because I read what, and it was solid. It was real solid in just 2 scenes. And I was very comfortable with it. I was very comfortable with this part right off the bat. And I only read for it twice. Actually, I thought probably Wes Studi or Graham Greene would get the part. Graham had just done a film with Taylor, and they're both Academy Award nominated people, and that would have been, you go with the money. But I really connected with this part, and I have been working, traveling around the country with a one-man show about Geronimo. So I was really sharp, and I was confident, and I didn't really worry about what they wanted. I just went in and did my reading, and on the way home, I got a call that
Nice.
they wanted me for that part. So it was
fantastic.
great.
Well, you are Felix to us.
There was so many people in that room on my second read. I mean, I've done plays that had smaller audiences than that. So yeah, and the interview ended with somebody saying, "Yep, that's it," and I didn't know who said it because I didn't see any lips moving. Actually, Taylor was watching on Skype from Utah.
Oh.
So when he said,
Wow.
"Yep, that's it," I didn't know who said it. I didn't know what that meant. But on my way home, I found out. So I really connected with this part, and it's quality stuff. I mean, Taylor really gets into all of the characters, but he brings up some really, really, like this last show with the indigenous, on the reservation. That happens all the time to women. They get killed, or they get raped, or both, and it just kind of goes unnoticed. So he's a special guy. I love working for him and with him. So, did I answer the question?
I think you did. I think you did, and you answered it well. And the main issue with a Taylor Sheridan production is you never know if you're going to be on the next day. Anyone who comes into that show knows that if it suits Taylor, you will be 6 feet under the next day. So that's the way it works. Let's talk about how you came into the show, though, Atticus. What was your experience coming in to Yellowstone, and I guess was it a big cattle call room as well, or was it something where it just kind of fit out perfectly for you?
It wasn't. Well, like Rudy was talking about, it was the other side of the camera that had so many people, right? It was like you realize, yeah, I'm definitely sitting in front of the entire everybody who's making a decision.
Yeah.
I have really come to trust Taylor implicitly. He absolutely gets it. He is as connected to the Indian community as any guy, as anyone could be. He genuinely cares. He writes it for real. He writes it with his heart. Yeah, I would take a bullet for Taylor. I really trust him.
And everybody feels that way about Taylor. He's a special guy. He's a very special man. And he's young. He's very young. Well, everybody's younger than me, but he's a young guy anyway to be writing some heavy duty stuff like he does.
Well, and you got to trust a guy who writes about cowboys, and he can ride his own horse, right? Like that's an important part of being part of the world. You have to kind of live a little bit, and I feel that Taylor Sheridan has done his part there, as well as the darkness of Taylor Sheridan too. There's probably some dark stories we don't know as well. So,
he's from Waco, Texas, and he grew up on a ranch, and on set he's always got his cowboy hat on, his boots, his jeans, and a t-shirt. That's it. And he just never stops. He works. He goes talks to everybody about every scene, and then he leaves you alone. Yeah. He gives you a lot of freedom. And you can suggest things, and he'll think about it. So yeah, let's do that.
That's good.
He knows what he wants, though. He does know what he wants. He just trusts his actors, and he casts it that way. And you see the cast. Everybody has a load of credits. Everybody, we've all done a lot of stuff. I just happen to be the oldest one, but we all have a lot of credit. I've been doing this for 50 years, so we all have a bunch of credit. Everybody's great. The crew is great, and he trusts his actors here. He wouldn't hire them. He doesn't have to. And everybody wants to be in it, so I feel very fortunate.
One of the things I want to ask about is
Thank you.
When you first started, your connection to Monica and Tate. I guess Brecken and for some reason I'm going blank on her
Kelsey.
name. Yes,
Kelsey
as well. So Kelsey as well. So what was your first connection to both of them? as you came into the show? Did you try to set up something where you had fun with him, or you get a chance to talk to her, or were you just kind of thrown into the mix?
We were thrown into the mix, and Kelsey and I connected. I met her for the first time right before our first scene, and she just got a certain thing about her. She makes everybody better. Anybody in the scene with her, you're better because of her. She's just got that thing that pulls you in. She looks right at you. She talks to you, not at you. So we connected right off the bat. I mean, she accepted me as her grandfather, the person who raised her, and we talked about it after the fact and put some background to our relationship. But right off the bat, we had it. Tate, he's a little boy, but he's like a little boy. He's part little boy and part professional actor. So, and he listens. That scene that you've got up there right now, I was telling him a story, and I said a line, "Does that make sense to you?" And he's supposed to say no, but he was listening to me, and he is the little boy with a grown-up's brain. He believed it, and he shook his head yes, and then he caught himself and he went no. But that's how he listens. And he's a kid. He'll act up. In that scene right there where he was in the swing, he was just swinging and acting funny and crazy. And I shook that thing real hard where everybody went, hey. But I got his attention. And then we did the scene because we had come from inside the house when he was acting up. And I was telling him a very heartwarming story about losing my other grandson and why his mom and dad they don't tell him what to do. And then I didn't do that for my grandson, and now he's gone. And that was kind of the meat of the story. And I said, does that make sense? And he would. The first time I did it, he went, yeah. Then he caught himself. He's a special little boy, and he can act like a little boy, and then he acts like a professional actor. He could turn it on and off. He's amazing.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the show is the palpable chemistry between the characters. Yeah. Like you were saying, you had a connection to Tate in real time, and also with Monica. One of my favorite scenes thus far in the entire show was when you were telling Monica that her marriage to Casey was not only in this world, but it was a ceremony, and that it went further than this world. And that was so touching. That was just a fantastic scene. And you guys were so connected.
Yes, yes, we were. And that was a very short scene, but it was just full of good stuff, little nuggets. Yeah. And she just brings, because she wouldn't look at me the whole scene. And then when she did, there was something that happened in that moment that it made me end it different than what we had rehearsed.
Interesting.
So no, thank you. I love that scene. That was cool. Thank you for noticing.
For sure, and that's one of those things that the connection made, and when you serve the part correctly, you feel the emotion correctly, and I think that, as Lori pointed out, that was definitely something that came about there. Atticus, I have to ask you, what was it like your first meeting with Gil? What was the conversation like? I mean, how you decided? Was there anything he gave Taylor gave you about how you work together? Was it going to be more boss and subordinate, or was it going to be more friendly? I mean, how did that kind of come about?
Yeah.
The absolute respect for his station is always going to be there. Absolutely. But we are closer than that, right? We're absolutely on a first name basis. And if there's people around and they're hearing it, then he's chief. But if it's just he and I being personable, then we're on a first name. So you will see the respect. If there's people around, absolutely he's chief. But if it's just the two of us, I'm hoping people see that connection.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you have, I guess the opportunity to have, but also the weight is the fact that everything that goes wrong on the reservation kind of falls on your shoulders. I mean, Thomas Rainwater fixes things, but when things go wrong, everyone's kind of looking towards Ben Waters, right?
Mhm.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, I'll carry the water, and if there is, how shall we say, gray area stuff, Thomas just is like, he looks at me and goes, "So I need this taken care of." I'm like, "Yes, sir, I'll take care of it." Even if, like the scene where I took Luke's slide and
Yes.
swapped him out so that he could not be
Yeah.
charged with anything because they would not have a ballistic match.
Mhm.
There's people have it's an interesting show in that people are like, wait, who's the good guys? Are the Indians? Yeah, they're the good. No, wait, is Kevin the good guy? No, gee, he just had somebody. Wow, wait, who's the good guy? Right?
Are there any good guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a very interesting thing.
Interesting.
Everybody, Chief Rainwater cares about the Indians, and that's what he cares about, and that is every decision he makes is based on that. Kevin Costner's character cares about his family, and every decision he makes is based on that. And people see that. It's like, yeah, man, that's my tribe, so that's what I'm going for. The chief asks me to do something. Yep, we're gonna do it. Even when it turns out like, oh man, I'm gonna be one who's just gonna be taking this, but taking one for the team is part of the job.
Mhm.
Well, and that's, of course, being sheriff, which is funny because it seems like the livestock people have more action than the sheriff does. So I don't know how that works in the world, but apparently you add cowboys and you add a badge, and that gun's got to come out one way or the other. Recently, though, you had a very, I guess, emotional part of an episode where you were searching for a lost girl, and it kind of led us to a bigger conversation about the things that are happening to Native Americans on reservations, rapes and murders and issues like that. And almost Taylor kind of saying he wants the show to take maybe a little bit of the reins so people will pay attention as well. I mean, is that something you felt as you were part of that episode?
Without question.
Yeah.
That is a giant, real, unsung story. It is
Seldom told story.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we can depend on Taylor having a sensitivity to. He gets it, he understands it, and he wants it to be more told and to have people an increased awareness. So, yeah, it was a really important thing. That whole arc was really important.
Could I say something about
By all means.
about what Atticus did in that show? I saw different colors. Atticus, you did a great job, and it was your silent moments were so powerful. There was an emotion coming from you that I know you, so I know how deep you feel about things like that. But you brought that truth to the screen, and you could see it, and it was in your quiet moments. It wasn't what you were saying; it was what was coming out of your heart. And I for a while, I called you and told you, actually.
You
and
did.
Yes, I did. It was powerful.
Brother.
It was very, very good work. And
Yes.
yeah, everybody noticed.
And that's one of those things that I really do enjoy about his writing. When Taylor writes characters, he writes the emotions and the reverberations. I mean, we remember Casey and Monica talking in the bathroom about wanting to change things, but not understanding, not knowing how to take the first step. Of course, Gil and Monica are going to take a first step, which I hope we get to see more than just, this conversation. I hope we get to see that moving forward. I know that we don't get to see as much of her and her college anymore because we're focused on the Dutton family. But I hope we kind of explore more of her family as well as her Native American roots and everything she's trying to do for her community as a whole too. And so that's something that I thought was very, very powerful. And bringing the students out was a great mark as well. So I was very, very moved by it. As a whole, I feel like Taylor Sheridan does a great job, kind of serving every side to every part of this too. So I know we have some questions on here on chat who are even right now who are asking about the portrayal of Native Americans in the show. As you've already mentioned, Taylor Sheridan having that in his hands was something you guys felt was well deserved and someone who could take on those reins well. So if there's anything else you'd like to mention about that, by all means. If not, let's move on. Lori, is there anything else you'd like to talk about from these gentlemen right now?
I just want to say that obviously I'm a big fan. You guys both portray your characters so strongly. And Atticus, I was going to bring up the scene where you interchange the slides with Casey, because that's what you had to do, because it was a gray area, but you're just, loyal. And the first time I ever saw you on screen, I'm like, that guy's a badass. And I loved it. I'm like, he's going to be an integral part of the show. And you bring up Monica, and Monica is perhaps one of my favorite characters. I mean, she's a strong Native American woman. She's a strong woman, period. That there was that scene with her and Beth in the store where she showed her moral colors, and just she's so torn between her love for Casey and her heritage, and it's one of the most fascinating aspects of the show to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Agree. Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Kelsey
like I
is
said, go for it.
Kelsey is genuinely the sweetest human being you could ever meet.
True that.
The real, genuine Kelsey is. You could feel her heart from 100 yards. It is an honor to know her, to be her friend. And I can't say enough about it.
I agree, 100%.
Well, as an actress,
I love the way that the natives are portrayed in Yellowstone. I think that we're all very proud to be a part of it because of Taylor's storytelling and the integrity that everybody brings to their parts. Even the smaller parts are well thought out, well cast. Yeah, it's probably the best portrayal of natives that I've ever seen in a on screen. Period.
It feels very organic, and I really like that. And as Derek brought up, it seems like Taylor is trying to point out, what happens on the reservation, stays on the reservation. People don't pay attention to these crimes that, maybe more people should be paying attention to. So hopefully that is a voice that is heard.
Another thing that I think doesn't get enough credence as well is showing how modern day these issues are. How
exactly
how this isn't something that
this is
happened.
current.
This didn't happen in the 1800s. This is current. This is happening now. This is lives that are being lived now, and how people are living it. And so that's one of the things that I think that he should get a well-deserved star for as well, is showing currently the idea and the reality with his characters in that sense too.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think we've covered that issue, and I'm so excited to kind of go over some more stuff. Of course, we have already covered some of the things you've done, and I would be remiss if I didn't go over some of the main things that I'm really excited about for the show, which is I guess the land itself. I mean, when you guys are on set, whether you are in Utah or Montana going forward, what was the main thing about being on that land and being part of those sets? You know, what do you see when you step on that land? Because to us, it seems majestic, it seems never ending, and it just seems kind of magical in its own right.
Yeah.
It is. It is. You're in awe as you're standing at like in a valley, and you're filming when like in the episode 1 when we were the Indian reservation, and then the other side of the road was not the reservation, and these cows somehow magically got on the reservation. And we were in a beautiful, beautiful area, and the filming in that beautiful area was very exciting. From when the helicopter came in and somebody was taking shots at them, to the guys herding the cows in darkness, the guys who came on the 4-wheelers down the hill and there was a major battle between the native police and the ranchers, and that whole thing. I was in part of it when the helicopter was hovering, and the rest of it we were sitting back watching, and it was like exciting filmmaking going on. I mean, I didn't even know Forey at that point. We were just sitting together watching this stuff go on. I didn't know who he was or what his character was, and it was just really exciting. It was riveting, and we were in this beautiful, beautiful spot. Even at night when the moon came out, it was just gorgeous. So you really feel like you're really there. I mean, I did, and I'm sure Atticus does too. It's you know, and there's not ever been a TV show like that's a series that has those kind of locations. I mean, this is not a cheap show. It costs a lot of money to make.
It's breathtaking.
That the Montana and that part of Utah is just breathtaking. It really is. And we're there. We might come in the summer, and then it snows, and you know, you'd be going to work in a van, and all of a sudden you see these mountains with snow on them. It's just gorgeous. It's like you kind of feel like you've died and gone to heaven or so.
For sure.
It's always obvious and apparent how important it is to Taylor that it be as real as it can, right? He's like, well, so we need to communicate the size of this herd of cattle. Well, he does that by getting a giant herd of cattle, right? we have to try to express just how far this grass extends. Okay, so we're just going to get a several thousand acre set. That'll work, right? That should communicate it. You know, he said, so how the heck did you guys do that bull running through the bar? That's crazy. He goes, yeah, so the way we pulled that off was we ran a bull through a bar. And you just do, when you're dealing with Taylor, man, that's how it is.
Yep, that's true.
That's 100%. And
I love the bull in the bar.
Same here. One of my favorite scenes.
Bull in the barn.
Oh yeah.
Although I am a little partial to buffalo riding as well. I'm a fan of buffalo riding too. So, speaking of which, let's get into this episode now. I would love to talk about it with you and get your insights on this episode now. So, of course, last episode, lots of things happened. The Jamie and Beth came to light, and the anger and the betrayal of every fan out there who was on Jamie's side because they didn't understand Beth's side of things. They didn't know what was happening, and the emotions that are probably flip-flopping every which way because of it. So, of course, we open back up, and I think this episode really had a lot of the family kind of secrets and realizations, and I guess denial and a bunch of different things kind of happening. So let's first actually start on a fun note. Denham and Teeter, do you guys think it's going to happen? Of course, Colby plays Denham, and Teeter, who is constantly chasing Denham. Do you all feel like that's something that is going to happen, as Ryan said?
I hope it does.
just to hear her talk about it, to hear her bravado afterwards, probably in that voice and that tone. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. And then of course the addition of the barrel racers is always fun too. And Mia and all that stuff together as well. So, Atticus, you dealt, and so as well as Rudy, both of you dealt more with Casey. But I'm trying to think. Have you ever got the wrong end of the ripstick? The anger full on of his the bull ready to charge. I'm trying to remember if there's been a moment, or has it been mostly Casey?
It's been mostly Casey. Probably the worst thing I'd gotten into was the gunfight where we were fighting a helicopter with pistols. Like that wasn't maybe our best moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things about the family. Hopefully, we'll get a chance in the future episodes and season to see some of that mixture come back together too, because we have so many enemies from the outsides happening constantly that it's interesting to see what's going to happen when we finally get these two back together on course. Because as you know, we're dealing with Rourke, we're dealing with his CEO, as well as the state and a possible airport. So let's move on to the big reveal, which was really interesting to see how fast it kind of happened and hit us, was Jamie Dutton being an adopted child. I believe that was like the thing that just kind of blew me away. I'm like, wow, we're just gonna
Yeah.
It's just like it's a mine shaft, and we stepped into it. We didn't even know it was there, and he just hit us with it. So, Rudy, what was your thought when you saw that?
I was blown away. I think I read from time to time the Yellowstone Bunkhouse fan page, and I know people are very into this, and everybody's got their opinions, and that's the great thing about it. But this is going to be a shocker. The show tonight is going to be a shocker to people who haven't seen it. And it wasn't just that realization. There was a couple of other things which I won't say anything about because I know some people haven't seen it yet. But it got my attention. So that's Taylor. He just always keeps you guessing. But there was some explosive things that happened in this show tonight. And it just makes it even better. It just makes it even better.
How about you, Atticus?
Right, Laura?
Absolutely. I did not see that coming at all. I mean, there were other reasons why, Jamie may be the black sheep of the family. We've seen that evidence, but him being adopted never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So, like the fact that, at the end of season 2, that the ranch was left to rip, and then, I don't have enough sons. And then it turns out, Jamie's adopted now. That was brilliant. And
the story,
I did not see it coming.
And the storyline of how he was put up for adoption, the situation that happened,
yes.
why he was put up for adoption was another thing.
Similar to Rip's. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Rip and Beth had quite an interesting situation there tonight too.
Yeah, but before we get into that though, I want to finish talking about Jamie. Atticus, did you have any thoughts on the Jamie revelation before I move on a little bit?
I was adopted, actually. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I think I guess it can happen. It was never my experience, but the fact that his entire life, his father had been guiding him and raising him and trying to do his best for him, the idea that, wait, you didn't donate the sperm? Well, you can't be my dad. That, as an adopted son myself, that would never occur to me. It was so, but that is not uncommon, and it's a big theme a lot of times when it comes to adoptions that were not. I've always known. My adopted mother's Norwegian, my adopted father's Belgian, so it was pretty apparent I was adopted, right? It's like, so how come I don't look like anybody else, right? It wouldn't be I certainly don't have any Norwegian look to me, but
No.
the things that Kevin's character had to say, and he didn't have a big explosion. He didn't get all. He just said, you know, there's a big difference between a sperm donor and a father, and he did that just delightfully subtly. You know, it was between Kevin and Taylor. I thought it was a perfect delivery. Right?
It was great. Yeah. And he mentioned, you know, my wife raised you, you know, that was your mother. And I just, that was powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, and it looked like that, you know, after his little outburst, you can't be my dad because you didn't donate the sperm. Hopefully he's going to take a look at the stuff that Kevin's character was saying. It's like, I was your father. Somebody else donated the sperm. I was your father, and I have earned the right to call you son. And I was applauding. Like, you're here, absolutely.
And may I just say,
I teared up. Yeah,
the way that Kevin Costner delivered that too. I mean, drinking and just slowly, I'm your father. I was there. I'm the one. I gave you a home. I gave you my heart. You know, the way he kind of walked into it slowly, like we were just within 100%. And that's one of the things that I love about his delivery and how he owns this character of John Dutton so well, that it just blows me away sometimes about how he can deliver lines like that you can feel the emotion and just how tired his heart really is from dealing with all these things, and not to mention, you know, having to deal with this and taking this anger coming in from his son Jamie, who just, you know, last episode did an unmentionable horrible thing, and you would have thought he would have came in. He almost felt like he came in trying to take advantage and trying to hopefully say, well, I'm adopted and I can be angry at you now, you know, as opposed to you being and everyone being angry at me. And even then, still him knowing that he's adopted, still sitting down, taking a seat and cowering to this great man. Like Jamie's, that's one thing that Taylor does, is he keeps his characters on the same point. They don't do too many roundabouts unless they break mentally, I guess. But Jamie is definitely one of those points. I mean, whenever you see him, you pretty much know who Jamie is. And as Beth said it best, Jamie does best for what's best for Jamie. I mean, at the end of the day, so
he's a narcissist and he's a broken person, but a lot of people in the show are broken, and that's realistic and organic, and why so many of us are fascinated by the show and its characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Very much. Well,
it was just the way that John laid it out. He goes, you can sit down in that chair in my living room and join me, or you can walk out the door. And whichever decision you make, I'm going to support. Right? He didn't say that, but that's where he was at. And you saw Jamie taking that in for a few seconds. Yeah. And he sat his ass down.
Yeah.
And that's a good decision. I mean, Jamie keeps leaving, and John loves him, you know, as a son, and he keeps taking him back despite, you know, some very poor decisions on Jamie's part.
This is very true, and unfortunately, Jamie is two shovels to dig himself down, while the one shovel tries to dig himself out constantly. So, I mean, when he was going to get that paperwork, and then afterwards there's so many different things that Taylor kind of alludes to that we don't know what's going to happen. Like we saw him pick up a deed, like he got a deed out of the house at one point, or so he was kind of sneaking around after that, after he left really early in the morning. So where's that deed gonna go? What's gonna happen with that? And then there's so many other little things that kind of creep around. Like we don't know if Casey knows what Jamie did to Beth. Like we saw him hold him back, but I might just be John and Beth who know, and of course Rip doesn't know because we haven't seen a Rip explosion yet either. So
Rip would kill Jamie.
Well, I don't know. I don't think he's going to kill John Dutton's son, but he will put the hurt on him for 100%. And you know, speaking of that, let's get to that moment right there, which is great, which is the proposal. I mean, asking her dad and you know, the realization that she had to get the permission for Rip because they and as Kevin Costner said, Rip would never take the audacity to ask John for his daughter's hand. I mean,
Right.
did you all kind of feel that you know the I guess the love and undying and unwavering respect that Rip has for John? I mean, does it any other moment kind of come as big as that? And that thought?
No.
That was a great scene.
Oh, yeah.
That with those two. First of all, the scene between John Dutton and Beth in the house
Yes.
set stage for that, and
Yes.
that was a great scene. But the one between her and Rip was just really touching, very touching. I mean, they lived it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good show tonight. I mean, there was some excellent work. You know,
Absolutely.
from Taylor's writing to the actors bringing it to life. I'm in Yellowstone, but I'm a big fan of Yellowstone too. If I wasn't in it, I'd be watching it like I do all the time anyway. I wasn't even in season 3. I was supposed to be, but I wasn't. It didn't work out. But I still watch every episode. I just love watching these guys work.
And I thoroughly enjoyed the dichotomy. But so there's all this documentation about Jamie, and the woman comes like, you know, if you just told me you're adopted, I've been able to get this done much faster.
Yeah.
Jamie's like, well, it's because I'm not adopted. Why would that be?
Yeah.
And then in the same episode, you know, Rip just kind of casually just throws out there, yeah, there really isn't any documentation about me. I don't actually exist on any kind of paper at all. You know, I just thought that was it was pretty cool, right?
The juxtaposition, yeah.
Yeah, just the absolute dichotomy between those two.
And he just kind of very slyly said, I can't go in a courthouse.
Yeah, I don't exist.
Then it brought it all back. He killed his father.
And then that tells you also just how it was just more support for Rip's existence is the ranch. That's it. That's his life. That's his love. That's his heart.
That's a soul.
It's John and the ranch. That's it, man. Because in the rest of the world, he doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So when sometimes you look at it, like, all right, I'm gonna have to send Rip. There's a reason he knows he can always send Rip.
Well, you caught on an interesting point, which is of course Rip for them, and then Jamie for being taken over as a son and adopted. Which I actually know a couple different families and men who it almost feels like the greater generation of men who would take in a child and or just good respectful men who have taken in kids like that, like as you mentioned you were adopted, but there's some who just taken children to make them part of the family, and like he didn't want him to ever know. But my question when I heard that in my head was also, was it always gonna be Casey because he was an actual child who was gonna get the ranch, as opposed to Jamie, who wasn't actually 100% blood? I wonder if that was some part of it in some way or another, where now you kind of figure out, well, Jamie was never going to get 100% of the ranch. Beth and Casey are, by the blood of Yellowstone, they are 100% Dutton in maybe in his eyes or not. I'm hoping that he's a bigger man than that and he never came across. But when the word legacy comes up in the show, it's a hard L when it comes to that legacy. So
yeah.
So
I don't think it's readily apparent that, I mean, how many times have the other siblings bitched about Casey? Like, what is your loyalty to him? He's the one who left, right? He's the one who abandoned you, branded or not, right? He has always had this thing for Casey that goes well beyond anything that could be measured or understood by anyone. So I don't know that has to do with, I don't want to believe it's because the other son's adopted. I don't know. It is a thing between, there is a chemistry between him and that son.
Well,
they haven't even wanted to explain it, right? It's just that deep.
Right. Go ahead,
Agreed, but they've mentioned a couple times that, you know, Casey was John's wife's favorite. So part of me thinks that's always why John favors Casey, because of his wife's preference.
It could be. It could be. And
Yeah.
you know what?
Good point.
He is out of everyone, he is his own man more than any of the other
Exactly.
kids or anyone else
Agreed.
around him. He is his own man. As a parent in this one too, I mean, you don't see many cattle thieves driving trucks who are roped from somebody who's on a horse. So
That was badass. Yeah.
I've seen some roping. I don't know what kind of angle you have to get a rope inside of a window and then over a guy's neck
Around the
as
neck,
well.
yeah.
So unless he was like, you know, with his head outside the window exactly, that has to be some trick shooting with the rope. Is all I know there.
He's got some skills. Yeah.
It is a skill set. You get a good roper, they can comfortably pick a foot and rope just the foot.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a skill set there.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Well, and the other skill set, of course, is Casey with a gun, because whenever that gun comes out, it's like Eastwood. Like there's gonna be a shout and there's gonna be someone on the ground afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where you see him with a gun, and I knew it. And then, of course, unfortunately, it led to that moment with the little girl finding her cattle thief father, which, you know, sometimes I get mad at Taylor because I know he's just doing it for us to go, all right, he just wants to give us a cake and then just push it to the ground like a cat. Like he just wants to push it to the ground and see our face like, oh, come on.
Like, why did you have to throw in that little girl? Like, he could have just left it. Yeah.
It was so bad. Of course, but we saw some people survive bullets and shootouts and stuff too. You know, I have to ask, Atticus, what is it like when the guns come out on a Yellowstone set?
It's always very, very, very professional. Those are real guns. So the gun wrangler is I'm an NRA instructor, right?
Nice.
I've been a strong proponent of the Second Amendment my entire life. I grew up with firearms. I bought my first gun when I was 9. So I have a giant respect for that kind of tool. I recognize its power. It's like a bulldozer, right? You wouldn't just turn on a bulldozer and get off it and walk away and let it just drive off. That's ridiculous. And it's the same thing with firearms. It's just a tool, and you got to recognize that it's powerful, and there's a way to go about it. You wouldn't, start up a giant piece of equipment and then just walk away. So the firearms stuff is handled in such a professional manner. I have never had a concern. The wrangler always brings it over to me. He pops it open. He shows it to me. Then he hands it to me, and he appreciated the fact that then I would check it. And you always assume the firearm is loaded, right? They hand you a firearm. Anyone hands you a firearm, you should assume it's loaded and check it, and verify for yourself that it's not. And that's what I see on the set. They spend a lot of time making sure safety is such a high priority. It's not a concern.
Well, and that's something.
Yeah,
professionalism is important. Go ahead.
Well, we have meetings about safety. You know, the gun wrangler or the stunt coordinator, whoever, whatever we're getting ready to get into for the day, we'll just all gather in a group. And what Atticus just said, you know, it's discussed, the safety of everyone. Not just one with guns, everybody's safety.
And that's something that I think is very, very important. Professionalism over friendship. Recently, I talked to the actor Ernie Hudson, who was in the movie The Crow with Brandon Lee, who died, unfortunately, because of being shot by a gun that was loaded. And he was saying, you know what? Brandon was really chummy with the stunt guy and the gun handler and everything else too. And, you know, maybe his friendship was just too close and he didn't he took it for granted. He didn't question it. He didn't go do the professional thing and do those, those steps to make sure. And he said that.
Well, that wasn't anything Brandon did.
Yeah.
That wasn't anything Brandon did. That, I mean, you don't shoot yourself.
Right.
Right. So the firearm wasn't loaded. It had a block in it, which should have been removed. So when the firearm's going off, you have blanks, and that blank, in order to make a good amount of powder, in order to throw the slide back, it has enough powder to make that happen. So if you have just a chunk of something in there, that can go flying out the end. So whoever that wrangler should definitely have checked the firearm to make sure that the barrel was cleared.
Right.
That was an error. And then when you are firing firearms on the set, you work with the cameras. So I never have to actually point it at you, right? If the camera is over here to my left, because of the angle of the camera, I don't have to point it at you. I can point it in a direction towards you. And if something were to happen, if there was some kind of a piece of crap in the barrel, like happened to Brandon, it would just land nowhere. So the guy firing the firearm actually aimed it at him. That was another error.
That's interesting. I've never heard that part of it, and maybe it's because I haven't delved so much into it as well. I just kind of went from what I've been told on some things, but that does make sense by far about that being something that was in the barrel. That is very, very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, they would never. No Wrangler would ever allow real ammo on the set. It's all blanks. But the blank does have it's like any firework, right? There's still going to be some oomph to it.
Right.
So in order for that blank to be able to throw the slide back so that it can discharge the capsule and put another round into the barrel, it has to have enough powder to do that.
Right.
If you've got something in the barrel, that would be enough to push it through. Even if you're just firing blanks, in order to keep the propellant in the capsule, there is what's called wadding. So if I get close enough to you and I was foolish enough to actually aim the firearm, I would be firing chunks of heavy paper at you. Now, typically out of, it's probably moving 400 feet per second. That's really going to smart. If that's hit you in the face, that'll easily take out an eye. Yeah. It could rip the skin. So even if we know we're firing blanks, you still never actually point it at the person you're firing at. You work with the cameras so that even if you're firing wadding, which is just, what holds the propellant in the capsule, they're not going to get hit with that paper. So
that's
it was mistakes on a couple people's parts, but it wasn't anything Brandon had done.
Right. No, that's interesting. I take your word 100% on that. That's very interesting to know that, and also the idea of with cameras you don't need to point it. So that's a very interesting information too. I didn't actually know that, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested to hear that. So as we close up this episode and we get over to some last minute thoughts in my mind. Of course, one of them, which I kind of enjoy, is like one of mine is Lloyd and the barrel racer, like that father and daughter thing that's happening there. Just seems kind of funny that the fact that he knows the trap he walked into, but he's still doing it. He's carrying her bags and her saddle and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was kind of funny that like he understood, but also he's that fatherly kind of gent who goes with Jimmy and kind of gives him his information as well. So I really do enjoy the barrel racer. So I just want to bring that up because there was a little scene where he woke up and she was in his bed. So I didn't exactly know what was happening there. So there was some questions. I'm not gonna say yes or no or what happened, but he did say that she could sleep in if she wanted to. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means in a Yellowstone world or in a bunkhouse world. Although that bunkhouse is getting
me
very
either.
busy.
I have no idea what that could be about.
Well,
Yeah.
I was
No poop
just
here.
laughing at it when I was looking at it. I was just like, okay, well, that's what's gonna happen there. So, but yeah, this episode, I think Jamie was a big thing. We kind of put the Josh Holloway and some of the buyouts and all the legal stuff to the side a little bit to kind of go back into the family. We've got a possible wedding coming up, or actually not a wedding, just a marriage of some sorts, right? Because there's no paperwork to be had. And then a adopted son, which blew my mind that not only did we find out, but we closed it out by the end of the episode too. So it was a pretty nice package by the end. They were like, okay, well, this is what's happening. And that seems to be the way a lot of characters have to do. It's just, that's the way it is. Suck it up. Like, it kind of feels that way when they have those. I mean, whenever Thomas Rainwater tells Ben something he has to do, I mean, it's pretty much just a suck it up kind of thing, right? When it comes down to all the stuff that happens to you, right?
Yeah, we just got to take one for the team.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And oftentimes when you are somebody's main man, it's like, Rip deals with the same thing. All right, Rip, we're gonna have to send you in. It's like, okay, yeah, looks like it's me. Great.
Well, I hope we see Rip.
It was a great show tonight. A lot of surprises. I think the fans are gonna love it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to have fun. And I was sad a little bit that we didn't have a chance to have them. But we do have some questions that are on the chat. So let's go to those right now. So one for Atticus and for Rudy. What is your favorite part about being involved with Yellowstone so far? Was there a particular day or a shoot or a moment that was just like the best part about it? And that's the one thing that you'll look back on and smile about. What was the one thing maybe? Let's start with you, Rudy.
Without a doubt, it's the people that I work with, both sides of the camera. That is like, I've done a lot of films and a lot of TV shows in 50 years. This is the best experience I've ever had, and I've had some wonderful experiences. But this cast, this crew, the people that I'm working with, it's a real joy to go to work every day. So yeah, that's the highlight for me, is the people I work with. The actors are wonderful, and the crew is just the same. Good people, work hard. It's a good deal.
For sure.
Nice.
Well, how about you, Atticus? Was there maybe, of course, you love the crew as well, and everyone you're working with, but was there maybe a moment that felt like, I'm in Yellowstone, this is fun,
Yeah, of course. One of the greatest moments I had was I was walking along with Taylor, and I had asked him a question. And then he went on to start talking about how he came up, right? He told me that he considers himself a failed actor, right? He had gotten to the point where he said, all right, well, you guys either got to move me up, lift me up, or I'm gonna have to walk away. And they said, oh, well, that's too bad. Well, we're going to miss you.
Yeah.
So then he said, so I decided I might try this writing thing. I guess it worked out for him.
I guess so. Yeah, it seems to work out well.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
I heard, he told me that story too.
Yeah. So it was such an absolute personable, just a couple of men, few minutes. It was awesome. And it just gave you an idea of who the guy is. And like I said, at this point, I'll take a bullet for him. That's how I feel about Taylor.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Another question we have to ask is, when will we get a chance to see Felix and Ben again in this? I mean, can you tell us, or is it all hush hush when it comes to the world of Taylor and Yellowstone? Can you tell us anything more, or is it just keep on watching?
Speaking for Felix Long wasn't in a season 3. It was supposed to have been, and then storylines started changing, and it just didn't work out. I had been what they call penned, with time set aside between this date and this date, I was supposed to work. And then things started changing, and that's life in the fast lane. You know, you just, they don't call you, they don't call you.
I understand that they had a bunch of stuff. I was supposed to be in twice as many episodes as I was as well, and they had to change. There was a bunch of logistics, and so they ended up doing way more ranch stuff. It's a very ranch heavy season, and Felix and I, you know, the more time we spend in the res, the more you're going to see Felix and I. So, you know, that's just nobody's ever happy about, oh, we have to change all this and move this all around. But, you know, whatever we get to be part of, I'm excited about. I have nothing but the highest hopes for season 4, and fingers are crossed that. I tell you, when you were saying about when it's a Taylor script, I actually have the habit. As soon as they get the script, I go right to the end of it to see if I'm still in it. I'm alive. Oh my God, thank God, I'm still alive.
Which is it's a funny thing. I actually talked to Kelsey and Luke, and I said we need to rename all the extras in the show the cattle, because they're gonna get killed. If you're an extra in this show, 9 times out of 10 you are not gonna make it. You're
done.
You're put out. You're not gonna be put out to pasture. You're not gonna make it that long. So
no one's safe. No one's safe. Yeah.
Not only that, but I heard there's a joke on the set called "Save Dave," where they're trying to save Dave Annabelle, and they're trying to bring him back in flashbacks somehow. They would like for him to come back somehow as well too. So I don't know if that's at all possible, but maybe in a world, you know, we'll get this man back one way or the other. But it's going to be up to Taylor and how all that works. But as we mentioned,
he has been back. He has been back in flashbacks.
What flashback was he in recently, though? I'm trying to think.
Oh, I don't know, because I wasn't a part of season 3, but I know that you know, he got killed in the first episode. And he was back. No, but he was back.
Yeah.
Ran into him in the makeup room, and then rode to the van to the set and back. So yeah, he's
aren't you dead?
That's the best way. That's the best. Welcome you can get on Yellowstone. Aren't you dead? You're back. Congratulations. Good job.
I'm mostly dead. Yeah.
Well, and that's the world of Yellowstone, and that's why we keep on watching, because you just don't know what's going to happen next. So, like I said, this episode was just so much fun. I hope everyone had a great time watching it. More episodes to come, and like I said, we still have a lot of things to close out in season 4. I mean, even when we get through season 3, there's a lot of stuff to happen with. The promise, hopefully, of Thomas Rainwater and Monica kind of creating something, which would be fantastic. But also, we've got to close out the real estate deal. Beth, Rip, Jamie. It's like everyone has their own things we've got to close out this season. But there's also bigger issues as well, which is getting back to the ranch and the reservation. Those ideas, you know, the fight between those two powers, you know, Thomas Rainwater versus John.
What's going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that still need to happen. So I know I keep on hoping for how many more seasons. Like, if he's going to keep on pushing this, it makes me happy, because I think we're going to have more seasons. You can't close everything out like in one episode, unless it's another 3-hour episode or 2-hour episode. So I don't know.
There will be more seasons, but it's not going to. Taylor knows what the end is and when, and it's not soon, but. It won't be long lasting, you know, like, you know, the Bonanza or the stuff like that. He knows, he already knows when it's going to be and how it's going to end. He's so far ahead of everybody. Yeah, I believe that. I do believe that.
That mixture is the formula, right? The whole thing, when you start looking at it, is the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that's what keeps coming up, right? So,
for sure.
Yeah, it's really, So that's what keeps everybody on their toes. Like, wait, who's the good guy?
Well, you were talking about going to scripts. You know, this show, I mean, it should have a subtitle that's just going to be, it's all going to end in tears. And we would all believe it 100%. So, but I have to ask, Ben Waters being a sheriff, having a gun, and being someone who was an enforcer for the reservation, have you thought about that tiny percentage that I might have a gun and I might have to have a death scene one day, or do a Taylor Sheridan shootout? Has that been in your mind somewhere?
I am not kidding. I go to the end of every script to make sure that I'm still alive. Well, that was, as funny as it is, I was serious.
Well,
and I told Taylor in season 1, I said, now when you kill me off, you got to make a big deal of it. He said, I'm not going to kill you off. So,
right. Well, let's just hope
big
it's not.
Deal.
Let's hope he wasn't sick that day.
I'd never kill you.
Well, let's just hope it's a big explosive way to go, and not just, well, you had a snake in your boot, so bad timing. Sorry, that's just a bad way to go. So, well, I want to thank everyone for being on. It's such a great opportunity to talk to both of you. Rudy, I love everything you've done, and more importantly, I love the heart you brought to Felix Long and the family, and I hope you get to be a grounding force a little bit more when it comes to Tate and Monica, because it seems like they've kind of gone a little bit to the ranch side a little bit more. You've seen John Dutton with his grandson, which is the most redeeming quality about him. I mean, when you see this right here, it's like the one thing where you see that's the one time he can be himself and be a good guy and be, happy and smile genuinely when he's with his grandson. But I hope that we get to see that opportunity as well on his Native American side too, because that's important to who he is too. So I definitely look forward to that. And then for Atticus and Ben, I feel that Ben has so many more things to come, because there's going to be so many more problems that need to be fixed. Hopefully it's not as bloody and as horrifying as The Lost Girl and things like that, but there's going to be a reckoning on both sides to come, and you're definitely going to be in someone's crosshairs. So I hope you can duck and weave as best that I can say, I guess.
I woke up one day and I was like, I wonder if Ben and Rip are ever going to have a big old fight.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, big old fight between the big men.
They're not going to kill you off. You're the sheriff. The res needs you.
You know what? They're not going to kill you off is not anywhere in a Taylor Sheridan book. That's not a line. It's available, and it's not a possibility. It's not an option. So that's the way I kind of see it too. And anything can happen if he feels that it's going to serve the story, or if sometimes I feel if he just wants to stick it to the fans just a little bit to get them to pop out of their seats. I feel like that's what the man will do. I mean, we've seen Sicario, we've seen Wind River, we've seen the things he's done to make the characters react to everything that's happening to him. I mean, it's mind blowing sometimes. So Lori, before we go out, so any last questions for these gentlemen, or anything you want to bring up for this episode, season 3, episode 7, The Beating, which by the way, I thought it was going to be Rip who was going to be beating Jamie when I heard The Beating. So when the beating happened, I guess it's more about I guess it's more about Jamie's mom beaten to death. Yeah. Is that what we're assuming, essentially, I guess? And so that's where it came in. So, but when I saw it, and I saw some people on the bunkhouse and other ones as well who were all asking, what does the beating mean? What's going to happen? So I guess we still have that to come forward, the Rip and some other things to come as well. So.
No, I agree. I took the title to be Jamie's understanding, and that was his, emotional beating as for his, adoption. And also, like you said, the literal beating of his father, who is still alive, beating his mother, and then him getting adopted. And then we have the whole void of, is Jamie going to go after his paternal, father, and what can come of that? I mean, that's a whole nother, aspect of the show. And then, there's the cute, quote unquote, beating reference maybe to Rip and Beth and their engagement. And, maybe Beth beating Rip to the punch. As far as
no, you're reaching a little bit on that one too. I don't know.
I just love that bit so much, though.
I understand. Well, when it comes down to it, I'm gonna, like I said, whenever Rip finds out, I feel like there's gonna be lightning in the air, and then you're gonna see something like this. You're gonna see a horse rear up, and it's just gonna be, death is coming for you on the horse, and that's gonna be what's gonna happen one way or the other. So that's one of those things that I'm looking forward to, but also very, very frightened for Wes Bentley, because one thing I can say about that man is he's got scared, frightened eyes down. I mean, those eyes when they come up. I've even mentioned before. It even seems like he shaves his little shadow, so it seems like a skull on his face too. So it seems like it's a dead man walking or something a little bit too. So I don't know.
Well, his name also is Rip, so like R.I.P.
Yeah. Well, let her rip. All right, Rudy. Any last thoughts from you on this episode?
Well, it was just really exciting, and there was a lot of surprises. So I think everybody's going to love it. But they're in for a treat tonight. But I'd also like to thank Derek, you and Lori for having me, and Atticus, my young brother from another mother. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having us.
It was my pleasure. I'm sad that the fans can't do it, but we'll do it again when my internet people decide to be my friends again. And which is really bonkers, because I'm paying for the top they have, and for me not to have internet right now means someone is about to get a call. I'm not going to Taylor Sheridan their life story, but there's going to be a reckoning coming for sure, in a tech way, I guess.
It is time for a stern letter.
There's a stern letter. You're going to be Karen'd to death.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it now. I'm going to let you know right now. All right, Atticus, any last thoughts on this episode too?
Oh, I want to echo Rudy. Thank you guys so much. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
With this COVID thing, I felt very secluded from the world. Right? I haven't acted in months and months. I haven't even seen much for people. It's kind of weird when you got to go to the grocery store and you're like, oh, girl, look, it's a girl. I haven't seen one of those in 40 days. So this has been cool. It's been fun. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, well, I hope when you say it's a girl, you're doing it inside, not outside voice. That's the main lesson to learn is we need to remember how inside voices work again, because we're so used. Like right now, everything I talk to is to my dog. So everything I say is to my dog, and I want to make sure that she understands that. But when I go out to the outside world, I can't be like, how do you doing? You want to get some food? Like I can't do that from now on. I gotta keep it a little more straightforward. Well, as you can tell on the groups, though, all the fans are there for you. So feel free to reach out to them. And more importantly, everyone needs to reach out to both of you. Both of you have some amazing Facebook pages as well as Instagram. Instagram, I think it's Atticus Todd Actor is for your Instagram. And then your Twitter is Atticus Todd. And then Rudy, yours is just your name, correct? At your Facebook as well?
Yes.
So everyone needs to find both of you, friend you, and just let you know what they thought of all your work as they. And luckily we have the free time to rewatch all the episodes you're both in constantly over and over again. So that's the beauty of it.
And thank the ladies from the Bunkhouse fan site, Valerie and Sherry, for putting us together.
For sure. And that's
Yeah.
the thing, like, all these fans, they want this stuff to happen. There's no anger. There's no, trying to keep any kind of power. They just want it to happen. That's the beauty of Yellowstone fans. They just want it to happen. They want the next episode. They want more story. They want more character. And more importantly, they want more from their actors they love. So that's the beauty. And like I said, I hope you do reach out a little bit more to them and let them be a new outlet for both of you. There's so many groups and fans and pages. Bunkhouse has been unbelievably great to us. And I hope that they get a chance to, promote you in any way they can as well. So I want to thank you both again so much. It is time. I don't have unfortunately Native Americans, but it is time for the Cowboys to leave. So we have to leave. The Cowboys are leaving, so that is it for us. I want to thank everyone who got a chance to watch us. Again, we're sorry we didn't get a chance to upload and do this live. We will look at doing a live one again very soon, and hopefully you get a chance to ask all your questions live. Maybe we'll just do something where you get to ask these gentlemen some questions and give them a couple smiles on their faces too. But until then, this has been After Yellowstone. Lori, I want to thank you as well for coming on and being part of this.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I know I kept you all a little bit late, but I was trying to give them a little bit more since we didn't get a chance to let them have their live moments here. So I want to thank everyone for being part of the show. And until next time, like I said, this is After Yellowstone, and I want everyone to have a fantastic night. Be safe, be healthy, and be entertained. I want to thank you all. Have a great day.
Night, gentlemen.
Happy trails.